The courtroom fell silent when the judge looked at the financial statement. "Mr. Wickham, you appear to have misunderstood your wife's financial position." Gideon stopped smiling. His attorney shifted nervously, while my mother-in-law, Judith, stared at me in disbelief. "According to these records, your wife's net worth is approximately $28, $7 million. Judith stood so quickly that her chair scraped the floor. Then she collapsed. Gideon looked at me like I was a stranger, but 3 weeks earlier, I had still believed he loved me. That was the day I learned everything had changed. 3 weeks before the courtroom, I sat in a Columbus, Ohio law office while an attorney read my grandfather Arthur's will. My grandfather had always lived modestly, wearing the same old coat and driving an aging Buick. I knew he had assets, but I never imagined their size. "There are investment accounts, commercial properties, private company shares, and a family trust," Evelyn explained. "The principal beneficiary is Mara." I stared at her. "Me?" "Oh." She nodded. "Arthur had left me more than money. He had left me control." "Why didn't he tell me?" I whispered. "Because he believed knowing too early could change how people treated you." That sentence stayed with me. Gideon leaned closer. "How much?" I don't know yet." His expression changed. I expected happiness. Instead, I saw calculation. The next morning he asked about the trust again. "We need to talk about how we're going to handle everything," he said. At the time, I thought he meant our future. I was wrong. A few days later, Gideon traveled to Chicago for business. My children, Eli and June, and I decided to surprise him, but at his hotel, I saw him standing with another woman. She touched his arm. Then I heard her ask, "Are you sure she won't fight you?" Gideon laughed. "She doesn't have the money to fight me." My stomach dropped. "And the inheritance?" "Once the divorce is filed, we'll find out exactly what she has." Then he revealed he had already spoken to a lawyer. I quietly took my children home. That night I called Evelyn. She warned me not to confront him. Then she said something worse. "Your husband's attorney has already contacted my office asking questions about your grandfather's trust." The next morning, Evelyn showed me documents proving Gideon had been investigating the trust before the will was even read. Soon after, divorce papers arrived. The petition mentioned potential undisclosed assets and requested temporary control over certain marital property. Gideon then handed me an agreement. "You should sign these. It will simplify everything." "You already decided," I said. He smiled. "You don't have the money to fight me." Our son Eli overheard. "Mom doesn't need money to be our mom." That night I found a handwritten note from Arthur. He had written that people might treat me differently after discovering what he left me. He reminded me that wealth should never determine my worth. His words gave me strength. Evelyn later confirmed the inheritance was worth approximately $28 million. I began searching through old documents and discovered papers Gideon had pressured me to sign years earlier. Some appeared to give him access to financial information he had no legitimate reason to need. He wasn't simply preparing for divorce. He had been preparing for access to my inheritance. When Gideon later demanded that we sell the house and sign his attorney's agreement, I refused. "You're going to regret this," he warned. I looked at him calmly. "I already regret something." "What?" "Trusting you without asking enough questions." He walked away. I didn't know then how important that decision would become. 3 weeks later, we stood in court. Gideon believed he was divorcing a woman with nothing. Instead, the truth was finally being placed on the record. And for the first time, he understood that the woman he underestimated had never been powerless. The next morning, Gideon requested full financial disclosure. He wanted records of my inheritance trust, investment accounts, property valuations, and everything connected to Arthur's estate. Evelyn wasn't surprised. Let him ask, she said. He gets what the law requires, nothing more. She explained that inherited assets could be treated differently from marital property, depending on state law, ownership, and how the assets were handled. She also warned me that mixing inherited money with marital funds could complicate everything. Then she showed me emails between Gideon and his attorney. If the trust is as large as I think it is, we need to move quickly, Gideon had written. Another message said, she won't know what she's entitled to. We can negotiate from there. I stared at the pages. He wasn't planning a divorce because our marriage had failed. He was planning a financial negotiation because he believed I was too uninformed to understand what was happening. That evening, I sat with Eli and June at the kitchen table. Is Dad still mad? June asked. Dad and I are having some adult problems, I said. Are we going to be okay? Yes. Eli looked at me. Even if you get divorced? Even then. Then he asked the question that hurt most. Did Dad leave because of the money? I held his hand. No. Your father made his choices. The money only showed us what those choices meant. The first settlement conference was held the following Tuesday. Gideon sat beside his attorney, looking relaxed and confident. His attorney discussed the house, vehicles, retirement accounts, and children's expenses. Then he raised my inheritance. We believe the trust requires further examination. Evelyn calmly replied, You'll receive everything legally required. Then she opened another folder. In his filing, Mr. Wickham described his wife's financial position as uncertain, yet his correspondence shows he was investigating the trust before filing for divorce. Gideon's expression changed. Evelyn presented the emails, followed by copies of documents Gideon had pressured me to sign years earlier. They demonstrate a pattern of financial preparation, she explained. Then she revealed an email from Judith. If Arthur left her the properties, don't let her walk away with everything. Gideon has a right to his share. I read it twice. That was the moment I stopped hoping for an explanation. The final hearing came the following week. Evelyn presented the complete financial records and final valuation. The judge examined everything carefully. Mr. Wickham, did you know about this trust before filing for divorce? I knew there might be an inheritance. Did you investigate it? Well, yes. The judge studied another document. Your filing described your wife's financial position as uncertain. These records suggest otherwise. Finally, the judge turned to me. Are these records accurate? Yes, Your Honor. Have you knowingly concealed these assets? Oh, no. The judge nodded and announced the verified valuation. Approximately $28. $7 million. The courtroom went silent. Gideon stared at me in disbelief. You never told me. You never asked because you wanted to know what you could take. Behind him, Judith stood abruptly. Her face went pale and she collapsed into her chair. Gideon had imagined my inheritance as something he could claim, but the law cared about documentation, ownership, and evidence, not his expectations. After the divorce, life became quieter. Gideon moved away, and we established a parenting schedule for Eli and June. Months later, Judith apologized. I thought about what the money could do for Gideon, she admitted. I didn't think about you. I accepted her apology without pretending everything was forgotten. I used the inheritance responsibly, protecting my children's future and supporting financial literacy programs. Arthur's greatest gift had never been $28. $7 million. It was the lesson behind it. Know your worth before someone else defines it. Protect what has been entrusted to you. Understand your finances and never confuse wealth with character. Gideon thought he was leaving a woman with nothing. Instead, he lost someone whose value had never depended on money. And that was the inheritance that mattered most.